Well, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to this episode of Marketing and Mindset with America's Supermom. Happy Monday to you. I am so excited. We have the first Monday of 2022, and I want to talk a little bit about goals. What is it that you are actually aspiring to do this 2022? Now, many of us have had this time over the weekend to kind of brainstorm, maybe do vision boards. The list goes on and on, talking to people, uh, decluttering, all these different things that we usually do at the beginning of the year to help us get that momentum necessary in order for us to move in the direction that we want to go in the new year that we have just started. And I want to be able to really address this because this is the perfect time to really build that momentum in a way that leads to success. So, as we think about our dreams and aspirations, usually a dream is something that is within your reach, but you're not quite there with it. Okay. It's something that you can see it, you can think you can feel it, you can hear it, sometimes you can taste it, but it's still not there. There is a gap from where you are to where you want to go to get this particular thing. And that gap is the thing that we need to really set ourselves up for success to get there. So imagine a staircase, and you have to get to the top of the staircase to where your desired end result is. You're not just going to start at the bottom of the staircase and skip all the way up to the top. There are some steps that you have to climb in order to get there. It's a journey. Now, is it easy to go up the steps? Usually not unless you have some injury or maybe, I don't know, it's dark and the steps are unfamiliar, but for the most part, we can handle going up the steps if we take it one step at a time. And so, this is how we need to really design our goals or the journey for our goals right now at this very second. So, as we think about where we want to be, how can we design our own staircase? How can we design those steps that are necessary in order for us to get to the destination? So, if you think about it, steps progressively get higher, right, at a level that is easy for you, right? So, if you've tackled one step, you can tackle another one. It's a succession of the same distance of the steps. So, for example, I've had some steps that are really high to step into, but if you have like a normal staircase, all the steps are the same size. They're just stacked on top of each other, right? So it's not like any extra energy to climb the step. The energy is if you skipping over some steps. Okay. So with that mindset, what we want to think about is how we can take these small steps and stack them on top of each other so we can get to the top of that staircase. Now, that's a metaphor for things that we can do that are related to our goal. So, if you want to be, I love the public speaking example. If you want to be a public speaker, you're not speaking to anybody at all. Okay. So, how can you start on that journey? Well, we want to speak and we just want to keep speaking, but we're stacking that speaking up with different audiences. We're still doing the same thing. We're speaking. That's the step. So the step is to speak. So the first thing is maybe you want to speak at a meeting. Okay. Maybe you have work meetings, you have Zoom calls. You're that one that never says anything. You have a million ideas. You tell yourself, this time I'm going to say something. When they ask if anybody has anything they want to add, you cower down and don't say anything. So, your first step may be simply to just say, yes, I would like to add to what Sally said or what John said, or I would like to bring up the idea of X. Maybe this is something we might be able to explore. I mean, just using that as an example. So, your first step is to speak in a small audience. It could be to speak to your kids, right? Maybe you feel like, you're always fussing at them, or maybe they're never listening. And so it's hard to come to them on a non confrontational way. So that's your first step, is to figure out a way that you can connect with them outside of being a disciplinarian. Now, I use that example because I have 15 kids, okay? And 10 of them still live at home. So when we get into this little back and forth, I feel like, sometimes I do need to kind of position myself to where I'm not the authority, but that I'm able to listen to them so that they can feel that they need to be heard. So that may be a step. So these are little things. They may not even have an audience at all, but as you do them, you begin to get more comfortable. And so then your audience can grow. So if you spoke at a meeting, then you might speak at a PTA. You might speak, at some public event, right? And then you just keep building. You may get on Facebook, do a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn Live or whatever the case is, as you continue to get more comfortable speaking. But you're still speaking, you're just speaking on different platforms, speaking in different places. For me, I call it speaking with a different microphone, right? You have the same person projecting, but you're just using a different microphone, talking in a different stage, right? So that is the whole concept between the goals and the implementation on how we can get these goals going. So I think one of the things, well, actually, I have like five things to really kind of think about when it comes to moving forward with our goals, right? The main thing to remember is that we are our own competition. So sometimes when we think about goals, what we do is like we'll get with someone that we may feel comfortable discussing things with. So let's say a public speaker. You get with someone who is somebody maybe they've got a public speaking career, or they've been a keynote speaker, or whatever the case is. So we get with them, we listen to them, and then we begin to take their story as gospel for us. And so by that, I mean, we expect ourselves to follow the same timeline. We start comparing ourselves to their story, right? And so you want to make sure that you get the research, the information, and insight that can help you in your own journey. But your journey is going to be different because you're going to meet different people along your journey. You have a different message. You have so many different perspectives that are not the same. However, there's certain building blocks that you can use. So imagine if you are someone in construction, you may have different tools, but you're still using the same supplies. So you might use a nail, you may use a hammer, right? But your outlook is different because what you're constructing is not a bedroom, it's a closet, or it's not a closet, it's a deck, right? So you see how you have the different places, perspectives, or whatever it is the finished product is. It's not going to be the same, even though you may be using the same nails. You may be using a nail gun and whatever, okay, drywall, but it's still going to be a little different. So I hope that kind of lands with everybody. So if we think about it, we're not supposed to be recreating ourselves like the people that we're getting advice from. We are supposed to realize that we're not in the competition with anybody else. We need to get better from where we were yesterday. So we need to be truthful with ourselves and uh, shine some light on some of our own faults and failures, right? And I'm not trying to say um, failure is a bad thing, right? I'm saying failure in the way that we are looking at ourselves, because that's a perspective. Once you kind of get to the point of really recognizing that you're your own competition, you don't even see anything as failure anymore. You see it as feedback and an opportunity to get better. But if we're truthful about ourselves, see, as we evolve, we first have a warped perspective of thinking about things being a failure. That gets us in trouble because that mindset makes it hard for us sometimes to even commit to our goals. We're thinking them and they are keeping us up at night. They are waking us up in the morning, but we're afraid to say something about it. We're afraid for people to hold us accountable because we don't want to miss the mark. And the more we keep things to ourselves and don't seek the help of others that could give us some insight, the more miserable we're going to be, the more regrets we're going to have because we're not going to be pursuing those things that light us up, give us the opportunity to share our gifts and talents and passion with the world. So, the first thing to remember is that you are your own competition. You are the only person that you should be comparing yourself to. The next thing is you have to do it one day at a time. Okay, so if I have the desire to accomplish some major feat, let's say that I want to learn how to play the piano. I am not going to be a professional piano player after one session, right? So we have to realize that it's going to be a marathon. With this journey, I have to learn the keys. I have to learn how to put my fingers on them. I have to learn what the notes are, right? Even if I look at the keys on the thing, I still got to know notes. I have to learn how to read music and all these different things. So, with that being the case, you're not going to be able to do that in one day. And if you do, how successful are you going to be able to maintain that level of knowledge? Yeah, you can cram, you can get it all into a day, but how long is that going to last? And how are you going to be able to build on that, with that type of mindset? And so, this is another thing. What we try to do is we say lead generation, for example. Oh, I know it's a numbers game. I want to talk to 100 people a day. Okay, so let's just think about this for a minute. So, if you have 100 people a day, let's say you do that good for 3 days. Okay, you talk to 300 people in 3 days. Let's say half of those people you don't even talk to because what, you have to leave a message, there was no response or whatever. So, half of those people you're down to like 150. Okay, over a period of 3 days, you reached out to 300, but you got in contact with 150. So the next day, the other 150 reach you. They try to call you, but then you're still trying to do your 100 people a day, right? So that day you work overtime, you talk to the 100 plus the 150, right? The next day you don't feel like doing it. So the next day is the weekend, right? And you don't feel like doing it then. So you wait. And then Monday, you're following up with some people from Thursday, right? For remember Friday, you didn't talk to anybody. So you're following up with people on Thursday. And then Monday, you don't do anything. Tuesday, now, if you're doing 100 people a day, do you see how that piles up? So on Wednesday, if you decide I'm going to go ahead and call these people, on Wednesday, you're back to calling 300 people in that one day in order to catch up for this daily method of operation that you've established for yourself with lead generation. So if we go back and dial it back to one day at a time, we want to make our goals so small that we won't have an excuse not to do them. However, because they are small, that discipline is going to create a momentum in that area. So, one of the things that I did when it came to creating video that has really helped me on this journey now that we have reels. So, I started a couple years ago doing these Facebook Lives, and then I went to record on YouTube. And so after that, I realized, I can do these little mini messages, right? I can do them on my phone. So I started recording. these little mini messages because I was still kind of intimidated about getting in front of a camera, being natural, looking at the camera, how comfortable I could be with technical difficulties. So I started recording these 1 minute or less segments. So I was recording them, and this gave me the momentum to keep doing it because it was 1 minute. And so I would say, um, "Ah, I didn't like the way that looked." And I can just delete it and do the same thing. Because I had them in small increments, I would spend maybe 30 minutes doing these videos, this one video, but it was giving me the opportunity to master being in front of video because I was doing it in small doses. I was putting myself in a position where I could fix any flaws or mistakes that I made really quickly, and I didn't establish this long, drawn out process that I had to relearn something different. So I hope that makes sense. So let's say that I did a whole video and I wasn't looking at the camera, right? So let's say I was saying, oh, let me just do a 10-minute video. So I go on for 10 minutes talking, not looking at the camera. At the end of that 10 minutes, I have to watch it for 10 minutes. But then I realized, oh, I wasn't looking at the camera. So then I have to go back, erase that one, then do it again. You see how it's like, I don't have 10 minutes. Things start happening, and I'm creating a pattern with this 10 minutes of doing something wrong rather than just having 30, 40 seconds of something wrong and quickly fixing it. So I hope that makes sense. But if we do things one day at a time, we will have the realistic mindset of thinking, hey, you know what? If I sleep 8 hours, I've only got 16 hours left that I have to cook, uh, deal with my kids with school. In my case, my husband, he may have some things, maybe us talking about things going on with the kids, anything with our household, goals, whatever. Then you've got your business, then you have your personal time if you're going to be working out. I mean, all these things to fit into 16 hours. Housework, right? Maybe some errands you want to run, anything like that. So you start adding all these people and tasks into 16 hours, that time gets eaten up quite a bit. So if you're sitting here thinking you're going to spend an hour out of that precious time doing some lead generation, that's a lot of time, right? But if you say, hey, I'm just going to take 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to reach out to 5 to 6 people, and then I'm going to move on to my next task because we really don't have a lot of hours in a day. And we really want to do things in a way that gives us momentum for the next day, right? So if you knock out 5 to 7 lead gens, the next day you're going to be more motivated. You're going to have that momentum because it's like, man, I can do 5 to 7. Why am I kidding myself? I could be doing that, with my eyes closed, right? So that's something you'll be like, I'm just going to knock this out. So this is the way you want to think about it. What is something you can do one day at a time? Small doses that you can stack up like that staircase in order to accomplish your goal. And thinking about you only have 16 minutes, 16 hours a day if you're sleeping like you should. Now, many of us, we can even start there. Some of us aren't even sleeping right. So we might want to flip that script and just start getting some good rest, right? And before we start doing anything else. But when we think about it one day at a time, we think about this is how much time you have. So, how are you going to prioritize this time in a way that gives you momentum and allows you to feel good about yourself, feel happy, feel successful, feel productive, right? These type of things. This is what you want to really kind of focus on. How do you want to feel? And what tasks are going to help you feel that way? So I hope that makes sense. The next thing with that is once you have that insight and information is to design your day. Now, nobody is telling us how to spend these 16 hours. So it's up to us. How much time do you want to dedicate to family? How much time to your kids? How much time to your errands or anything, miscellaneous time? How much time for you? How much time for your spouse, right? How much time for personal development, business, right? Content creation. So as you start thinking about these different pillars, you have the ability to design your day. So if you think about what is it realistically that I could put in a day. Now, one of the things that I learned from a podcast is the difference between a task and a project. This was a game changer for me because for years I was putting project type of things on my checklist every day and then depressed and anxious about why I didn't get them done at the end of the day. So a task is something that's 15 minutes or less, and a project is something that's more than 15 minutes. So some people might be like, okay, what's the big insight about this? Well, for me, I would probably have maybe 15 items on my list of things to do with kids and nursing and house cleaning and cooking and taking them to school and helping them for homework and packing their lunches. Okay, all these different things I had going on. That's just like normal stuff that wasn't even on the list. I would have things like laundry, dishes, right? Um, Dusting. So a lot of these things were actually projects. For me, there is no part of me doing the laundry that's about 15 minutes. I guess one thing that I could say is maybe it would take me 15 minutes to gather all the laundry from all over the house, getting the basket out of my room, getting the basket out of my kids' room, right? Because I've got 5 or 6 bedrooms to go through if I was doing the laundry, right? And getting that. That's more than 15 minutes. So I would be beating myself up mentally, thinking about myself not being accomplishing anything, being a failure because I didn't get laundry done. Well, laundry was not just a task that I could check off, it was a project. So I was holding myself accountable to something that really wasn't physically possible in the amount of time that I had in a day when I was still trying to manage other things that were project oriented as well. So that really was a game changer for me. So once I realized, even now, I didn't find this out till like a year ago, right? I was like, man, that just really freed me from a lot of that, guilt or shame around beating myself up because my tasks just weren't going away at the end of the day. I would get 4 things done and the list had 15 on it. And I'm wondering, what is wrong with me? But that comes from my history of being an only child and dealing with the issue of being a high achiever. I was able to do things and just focus, put everything on the line when it was necessary in order for me to achieve my goal. And so when I had a family with different dynamics and things that I couldn't control, that was a hard transition for me, which led to depression, 3 hospitalizations because I just didn't have the tools on how to incorporate what I was good at and what I wasn't good at in creating a system that served me and helped me to be the best version of myself. So it took me a large detour to finally learn after 3 hospitalizations how to get it done. So you have the ability to design your day in a way that serves you. And then the next point is thinking about how you can share that responsibility with other people. This I call allowing other people to shine. See, when I got into the whole concept of thinking about delegation, it was hard for me to delegate because I was so fixed on getting credit for my work. I was so fixed on, hey, such and such, did you see what Lachelle did? It was great. Her kitchen is spotless, or her kids are so well behaved, or whatever. The list goes on and on. I wanted to get the credit, right? So full of myself and ego that I couldn't afford to delegate to anybody because I didn't want to share the spotlight, right? But once I learned that I was driving myself crazy, right? I'm exhausted. I'm saying yes when I really want to say no, saying no when I really should be saying yes. I was all over the place. I didn't know whether I was going or coming. I didn't even know who I was, right? But once I learned to be comfortable with what I was good at and letting go of the things that I wasn't good at. See, if I know that I can talk on video at the drop of a dime, I am not going to be fighting with somebody who is into technology and knows how to program and do code for some other stuff, right? I'm not going to do that. But before, I would have been like, oh, well, let me go ahead and try to figure this out. So I'm up all night trying to do research, figure out things when I can just delegate that to somebody else who could shine, and I could sleep at night just showing up, doing my part, which is speaking on the video. So once I was really able to learn that ego doesn't serve you, right? Ego will have you up late at night trying to finish a project. It will have you skipping meals because you still are under this time crunch of trying to learn something in a small window of time instead of asking somebody who is well versed and is an expert. You can share the stage rather than feeling like you have to have all the spotlight. So once I really figured that out, I thought, what is wrong with me? I'm over here stressing myself out, going crazy, doing it to myself, mad, right? When I could just share that spotlight with somebody else. Okay, so find a way to delegate the things that don't serve you, the things that, demotivate you in your day. You think about it, you get up, you're in a great mood, you're excited, you get your workout in, eat a good breakfast or get your coffee, whatever that looks like. And then you have this sitting down at your desk and dreading certain things that are in your day, uh, items and tasks that you have to do. So, why wouldn't it be so much better to just connect with somebody who loves what you don't like? And they can do that for you, and you can get together, have a powwow. They're pumped up because they're doing what they love. You love what you love, and you can have a great conversation, a great partnership. So delegate, share the spotlight with other people. And then the last thing is investing in you. Why would we reinvent the wheel if we don't have to? Right. So we talked earlier about getting the principles, some of the foundational things from other people that have gone before us. And so this is where it really matters, personal development. We get in our own way because we start talking about the things that didn't happen and how long it took us and all this other kind of stuff. I don't have enough money or whatever. Investing in yourself is something that is going to pay off in just big dividends, right? Taking the time to understand that you are really getting clarity, focus, confidence in you so that you can accomplish all that you want to do in 2022. So that is how we can tackle our goals. And if something resonated with you, feel free to share this with a friend, uh, co-worker, anybody that comes to mind, because I think it's so important for us to build each other up and continue to move forward in a way that helps us to be better versions of ourselves and definitely helps us to accomplish our goals and set ourselves up for success. So I want to thank you for watching this first episode of Marketing and Mindset with America's Supermom. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I would be happy to address any topics that you would like, or we can have a strategy session so you will know what you have to do in 2022. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye for now.